Welcome back to Speaking Beyond the Spotlight. These are unpolished stories. On behalf of Virtual Speakers Association International, my name is Celina and we are delighted to be here with you again for this episode. Chantelle, I'd love for you to tell our audience a little bit about you and why we're here today.
Well, you know what I always say, we're humans first, speakers second. And that's what I love about being able to present this podcast, because we get to the heart of that humanity, the human behind the speaker. So many people look at speakers and think, but it's all this glitz and glamour. And it's not. We're just people. We've got the same hurts, desires, feelings, and we mess up, but we learn from those mess ups.
That's
So,
really
and
what we've
that's
been
why
trying. Yeah.
you go. And that's why I'm really excited to play with Carolyn today.
Yes. It's been these conversations that have been so neat to get behind, right? And really think about how can we support each other as part of this global community, knowing we all have some ups and downs along the way. And each of these conversations has just given us so many new insights. So we're excited. I don't want to hold this up any further. Chantelle, introduce us.
Amazing. Well, today's guest is a woman who knows how to command a room, whether it's on a live TV set, a boardroom, or a global stage. Carolyn Strauss is a former CEO, a sales expert, a powerhouse speaker. I saw her in South Africa, and she is truly a powerhouse speaker. And she's made over 500 live television appearances, selling millions of dollars of products. But today, we're going beyond the spotlight. We're not just talking about success. We're exploring the raw, the real, and the unpolished moments that shaped Carolyn into the speaker that she is today. Carolyn brings a unique lens on presence, persuasion, and personal transformation. And I can't wait to uncover the stories that you're not going to find on LinkedIn. Welcome, Carolyn. It's an honor to have you with us.
It is so much fun to be with you guys. And we're talking about all the mistakes and backstage stuff. How much time do we actually have? Because we could write a book on this. We could spend 17 hours on this, and that would just be, in the last 6 months. I mean, come on, you guys.
We knew you were up for the challenge.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I think I'm going to kick us off, Carolyn, with the first question. You know, I'm quite interested about this 500 live TV appearances. So do tell, was there ever a time that you lost control on air?
Oh, is there ever a time that I actually had it together on air is a better question. No, seriously, you guys. So here's the thing. I went and did hot yoga this morning before I came on with you guys. And what I realized is that every time you're in a hot yoga studio, your body is different. My body's different if I'm doing a 7 a.m. class than if I'm doing a 5 p.m. class, if I've already had my coffee or if I haven't had my coffee. So if my body is different, remember, as humans, we're biological, linguistic, and transactional in that order. So you've got to handle your biology first. So I can't tell you how many times I went on air without having the right food or having had enough water or having had too much coffee if it's 2 in the morning. So I was on, for those of you who don't know, I spent 18 years with my own clothing line on the Home Shopping Network, meaning it was live television for at least an hour every time I was on, sometimes 2 or 3 hours in a row, unscripted. So if there was too much coffee, my heart is palpitating and I'm shaking. And then there was one time, so back in 2008, I decided to step back from my clothing line. We started it in 1997. And after 11 years, I thought, you know what? I've done this enough. And I decided to step back. And what I thought was my last show, but in 2008, the economy collapsed. I hadn't put enough money away in the right places. That's one tip for people: save your money, because this is not a business unless you're an intrapreneur and you're within a company. But if you are going gig to gig, like I am often, you need to save the money that you have or put it in a safe place. So I put mine, this is a US problem, in Freddie and Fannie when I was putting my retirement together, and they both collapsed in 2008. But the point is that I was on TV in 2008 thinking it was my last show and I couldn't help myself. I cried. I'm on national television talking about pull-on polyester pants, and there are tears just streaming down my face. And I took a Kleenex and I dabbed, because there's TV makeup on. And I dabbed and tried to catch my breath. And thank God they saw that and went to a promo piece so that I could get myself together. But I love this podcast because you talk about how we are human first. If you're actually present and you're actually in your body, you are going to have the emotional and intellectual reactions that you have. Stop trying to hide it, you guys, and be perfect. What's actually happened in the past 20 years, I think, is the more, I hate the word authentic because everybody's using it, but the more congruent you are and the more real or authentic you are, the more your audience is going to relate to you. I have one other time that wasn't on television. My dad passed away in 2012, and my dad was my heart. And I didn't work for a little while, but I took like 3 whole weeks off, right, from not work because I couldn't think. But I spoke at I do a lot of CEO groups, helping CEOs see their business more clearly and reinvent for the challenges that are happening now. And we started talking, and I said something like, well, my dad used to say, and it hit me. And I couldn't breathe. And I started weeping, and I'm in front of a room of CEOs. And I said, I need to apologize, you guys. We're going to take a break now because my humanity showed up. And I said, we're going to take a break now. I'm going to give you guys 15 minutes to go get some coffee, and I'm going to handle this. And I went off and I handled it, and I came back. And I didn't explain a lot. I just said, look, I brought up my dad. I just lost him. This is the first time I'm speaking about him. So I apologize. Let's talk about something else. And I moved on. Long answer to a short question. I'm sorry.
No,
No,
that's
it's
what we're here for.
beautiful. And I wish more people would actually embrace, and I agree with you, I don't like the word authenticity, but just come home to the fact that we are people. Stop putting on these masks and stop showing up according to expectations and societal norms and all the rest of it. So I love that story, and I hope that lands with our audience.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And have a backup plan, y'all. So
Yeah.
if that story tells you anything, if you can't be somewhere, you have a backup plan. I need every speaker here to have a group of other speakers that you can lean on and say, hey, something happened. I can't make this gig. I'm going to call the client. Will you fill in for me? I have a pod of 3 or 4 experts who speak on similar things to me, but not necessarily the same. And I will lean on them. It hasn't happened often, but it has happened. And I'm like, here, you guys are going to get them, and then you'll get me for free next year. Make it worth it for the client, but take care of your client, but take care of yourself.
Yes.
Super. I'd like to ask the next question, and I want to hear more about your transition from fashion entrepreneur, right, to strategist and speaker. And tell us a little bit more if there was an identity shift behind the scenes of reinventing how you saw your role, what you offered to people. Oh, I'd love to know some more about that.
I call it being a slash person. So I'm a speaker slash consultant slash fashion expert slash presentation skills expert slash, right? It's all of the slashes. So while I was doing how home shopping happened is I was commentating fashion shows for department stores. I was the top plus size. So I was a plus size model back in New York. And I started while I was in college in Boston. And that was when like plus sizes, they called them half sizes at the time, which is so weird. But when plus size fashion started back a long, long time ago, I mean, I'm a child of the 1900s, y'all. So it so when so I was a plus size model, then I wrote a book on the modeling business, then I became a fashion show commentator, and then while I was modeling, one of my modeling clients said, let's, and I did it, I created an exercise video for plus size women. And then I said, let's do a line of exercise wear for plus size women because that didn't exist. So I was doing the fashion show commentary at the same time I was doing the beginning of my home shopping thing. And then during a fashion show, this young woman came up to me and she said, I'm part of a sorority. Do you speak outside of the fashion realm? And I said, of course I do. What can I help you with? And she said, well, would you come to our sorority? It was like in Wisconsin or something. And she's like, can you come to our sorority and speak to us? And I said, yes. And I went, ding, ding, new business. So I went and spoke to them and they paid me, a little bit. And then they heard me, and one of the parents of one of those people was working in a company and said, will you come speak to us? So I really feel like the transitions have been organic. They've been beautiful accidents. And also, you guys have heard of the luck study, right? Have you guys heard of the luck study? What makes a person lucky? You've heard of that, right,
Oh,
Celina?
yeah.
What is
Yeah.
that guy's name? It's not Weissman. It's something like that. There's a therapist or a psychologist or something who did a study of people and sending them into a diner and telling them that they were there to taste the food. Well, they broke people into groups of, do you think you're lucky or do you think you're not lucky? The people who believed they were lucky, every single one of them started a conversation with an actor who was at the counter and created an incredible opportunity for themselves. The people who did not believe they were lucky went in, tasted the food, did an assessment of the food, and left. That has stuck with me because that's how I've always lived my life, because I believe no matter what happens, there's an opportunity. And a lot of times it's not about you. In my 20s, I thought it was all about me. I'm really clear now that it's so not all about me anymore. Sometimes it's about the other person, but I think it's about helping. It's about seeing what could come next.
You know what I love about that story is you've spoken about these transitions, and I refer to it as the golden thread. We've got to find that golden thread that pulls everything together. But I want to dig into it a little bit deeper, because I think the biggest question that I get asked in VSAI is, why should I niche and how do I position myself? So, because you've been through so many of these transitions, I'm going to throw that question over to you. How
If I
did
knew
you
the answer,
navigate
honey,
that?
if I knew the answer, I'd be making way more money. Niching is so scary to me because I am the queen of options. Okay. I have always lived my life as the queen of options. So, like, well, I could do this. I could go speak on presentation skills. I've just spent 3 years studying the concept of reinvention and learning all of if my new program, I've been in this business for more than 3 decades, y'all. I have made a living as a professional speaker for more than 30 years. And given that I'm 49, it's kind of miraculous, right? So I think that, um, it- where was I? I laughed. I made myself totally lose my train of thought. I do that.
It's
Because I
okay.
am
That's why
40.
we're here to prop that
Oh,
each other
right.
up.
So my new
Yes,
program,
there you
it's
go.
only taken me 30 years to find it, is called How to Make You and Your Company Irresistible when what used to work doesn't anymore. Because that's actually the time we're living in now. So it's interesting to talk about my past and all of that, but I think talking about what is working nowadays is really important. So I think what's really important, the niching conversation now is super important because people only have 5 to 10 seconds to meet you and assess whether you're worth hiring, and then look at your website, which, by the way, mine is not where it needs to be. And I'm working on that every day. I've just hired a new website developer coach to help me level up mine. And you know, like I said, I've been doing this for 100 years and I'm still reinventing all the time because what we used to work pre-pandemic absolutely does not work anymore.
And I think it's so important because one of the things I hear, Chantelle, attached to your question of people going through that or trying to figure out how to do that is, if you're going to stay in this business, you have to keep reinventing. You have to keep improving. There's no arrival time, right? And you get there and you go, okay, now I got to update my website again, and now I got to come up with new programs, and now I've got, because that is the environment in which we're in as just people and organizations and the world around us. It is in constant flow.
It
Yeah.
is. And now, so what I want to invite people is to take a look at what is your next thing. So Chantel just went through an experience with me. One of the things, since my new branding is how to make you and your company irresistible, right? Which, you know, with the sidebar. But I was at a mastermind. So I want to recommend one of the recommendations for people who are newer in this business, or no matter where in the world you're listening to this from. I want to recommend that you surround yourself with a group of people who are doing what you want to do and have different skill sets around it. So I was at a mastermind in New Orleans. I live in Colorado. For those of you who didn't know that, I'm in Denver, Colorado. I love it. I'm 360 miles from dead center in the United States. So I love being in Colorado. That's just a little geographical information. But when I was at this mastermind, they said, wait a minute, you're doing a program on how to be irresistible. And I've got my 5 areas of what makes you irresistible, which, by the way, are feedback, FOMO, fun, fundamentals, and future pacing, right? In case you guys are wondering, what are the 5 fundamentals? I'm happy to share because it's what I've created over all the years. And they said, you need to create a test, like, how irresistible are you assessment. And I started looking around in the world, and assessments cost anywhere from like $2,000 to $20,000. When I asked my high-level speaker friends where they get their assessments, I mean, Celina, do you have one that you use? Do you have an assessment?
I do not.
Right. And how, you know, how interesting would it be maybe to have yours? And Chantel just created one, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I realized that I needed a how irresistible are you assessment. I happened to be at this mastermind, again, the luck thing. And I sat down next to a newer speaker who's a chief technology officer. This guy is a brilliant technologist. And I said, I have no idea how to create an assessment. I know they're wicked expensive. I know that I don't know how to run it because I am not a technology person. And I also can't cook. But that's, you know, one of the things behind the stage that you never asked me to make you something. I burn frozen pizzas, but that's beside the point. So I'm sitting next to my friend Eric Larson, and he said, Carolyn, I can help you create an assessment. And I said, can you really? And will you really do that? Because sometimes for women, I have found it's hard to let people help us. I help people all the time, but sometimes it's hard. So he said, I will help you create your assessment. Got home from that on a Saturday. On a Monday, we started working on it. By the next Monday, my assessment was ready. And on that Tuesday, I spoke to 100 small business owners at a conference, and I used the QR code. 80 of them got their successful results. And then I was talking to Eric, and I said, this is amazing. I need to do another one because I spoke then at a CEO group 2 days later, and I was talking about experimenting as speakers. We need to experiment. Never do 100% of the same program you did the day, week, or month before ever. Because if you're doing that, you're wasting it. So I'm with them, and I said, look, we got to experiment in our businesses. This is CEOs. I said, I just did an experiment of a survey, of an assessment. Do you want to try it? they said during the break, they all said, sure, we'll take your assessment. The feedback I got from them was so brilliant. And you got to be open to feedback. That's another tip. Be open to feedback from people who know. Don't be open to feedback from people who have never had the experience. So they said, oh my gosh, it's nice to know how irresistible I am. I would love to know how irresistible my team thinks I am. So I've now reinvented the irresistibility index as a 360. So anyway, it's turned into this whole thing, and now we're offering it to other speakers who don't want to spend $10,000 on an assessment. What if in 1 week, from Friday to Friday, you could go from an idea and what you're known for to having an actual proprietary thing. This is not a sales pitch, you guys. This is just what needs to happen now in the world of speaking. You need to have something that differentiates you. If you're a leadership speaker, if you're a communication expert, if you're a health and wellness speaker, whatever it is that you need, that you have, do you have something that differentiates you from other people? So Eric and I have now created this business. Chantelle just went through it and created her own assessment. Will you, not a sales pitch again, because I do have a coupon code for you guys and a way to check it out if any of the people global are interested in coming through this. There are two caveats. A, you have to know what it is you do and what you solve for. And B, you have to speak English, because our access to other languages is not good. It's okay, but it's not good. Okay.
You know what? To loop back around to my question on transitioning and niching and positioning, going through that cohort, I mean, I've been on a huge niching journey for the last 2 years. And every time I think I've got it, I realize I haven't. So it is iterative, right? But going through your assessment cohort, what I loved about it is the question you asked, what do I solve for? So that was the first thing. And then it made me really face, what do I solve for with my clients? The second thing we came up with was these 5 facets. So now I've got the 5 facets of identity, and I'm very clear on my facets. And each facet has got dimensions. And every single one of those, so I've got 20 statements that I solve for. You know, so that for me, I'm just going to level with you here. I'm terrible at my homework. There's been other stuff demanding my attention. And it is that close to finished because I've reworked it entirely after we did the process. But I see the potential. But that whole process has been absolutely valuable to me. I don't know. Celina, you weigh in. What do you think about this stuff?
Well, there are many layers here we could spend hours on, I know, but I want to bring it back to the point. I think for this conversation around, we need each other. There's somebody else who has an insight, a set of experiences, or an area of expertise. And I think when we bring it back, right, this leadership, this speaking business and the way we lead in our space is lonely. And yet I like to say we never do it alone, right? We need other people in our circles. And that's been important from whether it's masterminds, like have been mentioned, or ways we connect with each other through associations, through chapters, whatever that's like, is we that to tap into that community, because this can be pretty darn hard. And if you're working on a problem, get outside your head. Like, go talk to some people and get their perspective. And again, I think there's layers of that in an amazing lesson on just what those specialties look like and how you can differentiate yourself.
And the other thing is, there is a community. There is a global community. I would say some of my dearest friends now are in South Africa, including Chantelle. I mean, I went and I wanted to go to South Africa and found out when the PSASA conference was and reached out to the conference coordinator, Juanita, and she said, "You're coming to South Africa? Of course you can keynote it." Like, who knew? And then, our friend Steph Duplessis set up. I had a babysitter the whole time I was there. Like, I don't think there was one day that I didn't have somebody with me. But now I have global friends that I can reach out to and say, "Hey, I'm thinking about this idea," or "How would this land in South Africa?" Or "I'm going to the UK. How would this land in the UK different than it's landing in the US right now?" And talk about how, like, we have to stay up on it. Yes, I have made tons of mistakes. And like I said, we could spend 20 hours talking about the mess ups that I've had and that I've done. In fact, when I was at PSASA last year, if you remember, Chantelle, the person who was supposed to zoom in ahead of me wasn't there. And so they put
Yes.
me on 25 minutes before I was supposed to go on. I wasn't ready. I'm sitting at my table. I'm taking notes. I'm looking around the room. I don't have all of the candy that I brought to South Africa, like, out on the tables yet. Like, all those things that were supposed to happen during the break between the virtual person zooming in
That's
and
right.
me fell apart. So when I look at that video, I love my video from PSA, but my scarf is totally lopsided because I didn't
Yes.
have time. You've seen the video, right? I didn't have time to even it out because A, I didn't have a mirror. B, I didn't have time to go fix my lipstick, all of the things that were supposed to happen. But as a professional speaker, I think the most important thing for us to be is flexible. And in fact, as business owners right now, the most important thing to be is flexible, because there are going to be, if you guys look at your own lives, there are more disruptions personally, professionally, traffic-wise, environmentally, than have ever happened in a week. If you look at your week, it is never the same as you think it's going to be. And now when I work with executives, I request and invite them to take 20% of their week and leave empty space. And they're like,
Yes.
"What? I can't leave 20% in my calendar of empty space." If you don't, you're going to be working until 10 or 11 o'clock every single night. As speakers, we need to leave empty space.
Love that. I've been making notes as you've been going along because you're delivering a bit of a mini masterclass here without even knowing.
I love you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
It's
Yeah.
fun for me.
Celina knows, and you would know too because you've listened to one or two of our episodes. I like to draw this thread together. And I'm feeling like the thread that we've been discussing is how you make your own luck. And I've got 4 points that I've written down here. I'm going to reflect back to you. Have a mastermind, surround yourself with the right people, experiment, which is in line with what you and I always say, play, right? And when I think about you in South Africa last year with your skew scarf, that was playing. And you did so well because you just had this playful, experimental attitude. Feedback. We have to take feedback and flexibility. How does that sound for your masterclass on the hop?
Wow. I'm excited to monetize this. Let's go. No, I'm kidding. Actually, can I, before I know we're running out of time, before we close, can I tell anybody who wants to create an assessment that they can play with us if they want? You can go
Sure.
to
Share it with us.
backstagebuilder.com. Backstagebuilder.com. And if you want to sign up for one and you guys want 30% off, your code is VSAI25.
Thank you for your generosity.
VSAI25, and we'll put that in the show notes and stuff. But I just wanted you guys to have the option to create an assessment. This is not for everybody. Do not do it if you don't think you need an assessment or want one. But I got to tell you, it is actually now helping my business, because when somebody's thinking about bringing me in as a keynote, and I say, but everybody is going to get their irresistibility score for free who comes to my program. And people go, "Oh my gosh, it's like having your horoscope," right? Everybody wants to know what their horoscope is for the day. I can now offer something like that.
I love it. Well, thank you for sharing that with us and our
Awesome.
members, and just grateful for the insights you have offered. So is there a question
Amazing.
we haven't asked that you thought we would, or you wish we would have asked you?
Yeah. Um, what do you do for fun? Because I think the most important thing, one of the things that Chantelle said is fun. And I am a cruise girl and I am a travel girl. So anytime I get the opportunity, either I'll set up a trip somewhere and then find speaking arrangements in it, or I'll get to be invited somewhere and speak around it. Look, I used to show up, do my thing, stay for as long as I could for the conference, and then leave. Now, you know what? And we're all at different stages in our lives and in our careers. I say for me, yeah, what do I do for fun? Explore new places.
Love it.
Yeah,
And we've got a couple of explorations planned for the three of us.
we do.
We
So
do.
We're
I'm so
excited for
excited.
that.
I know. So just to say, the three of us have never met, but we've just discovered Celina and Carolyn will be meeting next week at NSA. And the
Yeah,
three of us will be meeting at GSS next year. So
in
that's really
2026 in Cairns, Australia. You just
Please
never know where
come.
these connections lead us.
exactly.
Yeah.
Carolyn, our last sort of lightning round question for you.
Okay.
What is one piece of advice you would have loved to have given your earlier speaker self?
Okay. If it were now, If it were now, I'd say record everything, photograph everything, take notes on everything, remember everything, because I've been doing this for 30 years. When I started, there was no YouTube. There were no cell phones. There was no way to record stuff. I found a flip video. Do you guys remember flip video cameras
Gosh.
from like
Yes.
25 years ago? I found a flip video somewhere in my archives. So I would tell my younger self, record everything and keep track of how much money you've made in this business. Because when you look back on it 30 years later, you'll be impressed that you made a living.
Yeah, so true. But to build on the record everything, I looked at one of my very first YouTube videos the other day. And you know what, girls, it's only 6 years ago, but I was horrified. I wanted to crawl under the counter and die.
Oh.
It was vile. So you
Okay.
see your growth.
And
You see
take your
your growth.
best stuff and take your best stuff. And that's what you send to people. I know so many people are like, well, I'm not going to put my whole speech up there because people will then want, they won't hire me. No, the reason they hire you is because you're safe.
Your best stuff.
Safe
Yep.
is number one for meeting
Yep.
planners. Are you safe? Have you done this before? And have you done it for somebody like me? If you can answer
Mhm.
that question, you'll get booked.
Right there.
Love it.
Ah.
Love it.
Thank you so much for all that you've shared with us. And hopefully we've got more people asking questions and inquiring about you and what you do. And as also just your volunteering this time for our membership and anybody else new who might be checking us out too. Chantelle, what do you think? How do we pull all of this together with your golden thread?
Golden thread, make your own luck,
Mhm.
be safe, surround yourself with the right people.
I love
But
it.
that's what it
Oh.
boils down to. And have fun, for God's sake.
Oh, absolutely. Right. Will keep doing that. And to everybody watching or listening to this time, thank you for taking another chance on us to learn a little bit more, take yourself that next step. And remember, you don't do this alone. And what you put out there will continue to bring you as many rewards as it can. So keep making your own luck. And we hope to see you again soon. Take care.